I'm going to invite Tony O'Hagan to come and share with us now. Let's welcome Tony. Tony works with an organisation, of Campus Crusade for Christ. He's been here before, and he's going to give us an update about some of his ministry. So welcome, Tony.
Thanks very much. Well, really, thanks very much for having me here this morning. I feel always like I'm with family when I come here. It's sort of my second church, really. I just thought I'd bring some slides and share with you some of what we're doing. I'm sorry my wife and family aren't with me this morning. They're busy actually at our church with another Alpha event, as we're actually leading a family through Alpha at the moment. Just next slide. So I just thought I'd start by telling you a little story that happened to me earlier this year. I was actually at a conference in Sydney, and I was actually just about to speak the next day about internet ministries with actually a lot of other missionaries from Missions Interlink. And as I arrived, I noticed that as I came through the train station, I noticed there's a little ice rink down the road, and I'm a bit of an ice skater. So I thought I'd stroll down the road, and this is a little spot I went to down in just opposite Macquarie, near Macquarie University. And I went out late at night, just before I went to bed, to go and check what the ice rink times were. And as I walked down the road, I saw this young man, and he looked a bit distressed. And I just found out by talking to him that he actually just missed the bus. So he'd kind of missed the last bus home. So he's talking on the phone to his wife in Hindi, explaining to her, what had gone wrong. And I just sensed that God said to me, Tony, this is a little moment you could spend with this guy and share your faith with him. So I approached him, and I opened the conversation about spiritual things, which often people from his culture are quite interested in. And so I thought one opportunity I might share with him, a little tool that we've got. I'll just open my phone. Actually, if you could show the next little slide, it'll show it to you. This is a little iPhone application which our Melbourne team have developed called Knowing God Personally. You might remember the old tracks we had. I've actually met recently with the guys who built this, and we've actually got another application too called Satisfied. So you can actually now have the gospel in your pocket and ready to share at any time you come. Not only that, we're actually looking at translating it into other languages soon, and probably even having bilingual versions. So there'll be a wonderful opportunity to do this. We had a guy from Russia just drop in the office one day, and within about 30 minutes we had a Russian version. Okay, so we're hoping to have a whole world of tracts in your pocket. So I started to share my faith a little bit with this, opened the conversation, and I sensed that this guy actually wanted to talk to me. And I remembered that the most important rule of sharing your faith is to actually listen first. So I put the tool back in my pocket, and I just thought, okay, well, that's enough of that. I've got to go and listen to this guy for a while. And I discovered that he believed in many gods, as many Hindu people do. And I remembered from my training, actually, from being an online missionary, that I should talk about not God specifically, but rather the Creator God. So I shared with him a little bit about my experience of having met the Creator God, and I talked about the stars and how the one who'd actually created the stars above us was the actual one that he could actually come and meet. I asked him if he'd ever heard about Jesus. He hadn't. He'd never heard about Jesus Christ at all. Now, in the middle of this great connection, I thought we were really getting on well. He was interested. A bus arrived, and he rushed, got up, and he realised it was a bus that wasn't quite the one he wanted, but it was near enough. And he dashed on the bus, and I thought, oh, Lord, I'm sure this guy was supposed to hear some of the gospel tonight. What can I do? So as he sprinted for the bus, I sprinted for my wallet and gave him my business card. And as I walked back up the street, I thought, Lord, I just pray that this guy would send me an email. Maybe he'll just connect with me and, But I think God has a bit of a sense of humour, because within a couple of minutes, this guy sent me a text message. And I thought, okay, Lord, now what do I do? So I strolled back to my room, and I thought, I know what I can do. So I'll just give you the next slide. I remember this website called lookingforgod.net, and it's actually not a Campus Crusade site, but it's actually one of our partners that developed it in Europe. They translated it into many, many different languages, and it's developed by a group called Top Kredian, and it has a fabulous explanation of the gospel on it. And I thought, this is what this guy needs to see. But not only that, I remembered I could actually choose the version in his language. So I went to the little site, pulled the little drop-down list and chose the Hindi version. If you can go to the next slide, thanks. So here's the Hindi version of this website, okay? And then I sent him this little text message. Hi, Dev. We had a great chat tonight, and I'm sure it was no accident. Catch me on Facebook, so this is a way I can reconnect with him. Here's my email address. That's to make sure he can find me reliably on Facebook. You can learn more about our Creator God and I just copy-pasted the address of the website on the page. So now this guy had an opportunity to hear the gospel, video presentations, great information in his own language, his own native language. And not only that, there's actually a whole team of people behind there who speak his language and who actually understand his culture much better than I do. So I hope you can see that this is a way which the technology which God is giving us today allows us to share our faith in many new creative ways. It's a very exciting time. Let's go to the next one. Earlier this year, I actually attended New Missionary orientation with Campus Crusade with my wife and children, and we went down to Melbourne. So this is actually our team that we did. So pretty much since that time, I've been full-time building support. And it's been a long journey and a very difficult one, to be honest. I've actually only managed to raise 1 day per week. So I've actually, as of this month, I've actually started officially as staff. So my first day on the job, if I just flick over, next slide. That's our Missionary from Home site, which I was going to tell you about a little bit later. But this is basically where you can connect with us if you'd like to become an online missionary. And I know you've got a couple of people in your church who are involved in this. And it's a great way in which you can actually grow your faith and see people actually coming to Christ. So if we just go to the next little slide. So this explains how on the internet and in other tools we can connect with God at different levels. So we can connect or build relationships with people at different levels. So the first one talks about talking face to face is obviously always the best way to explain the gospel or to lead someone in their faith. We can use video chat now on the line, and of course we can use mobile phones, which is an extremely important area. 60% of the world have a mobile phone now. So amazing opportunities that we're reaching people for Christ via mobile phones. And that was a major focus of a conference I've just been to. We can use letters, instant messaging, text messaging, email, and various types of Facebook and Twitter as well. So all of these different technologies God is giving us, this is like a different sort of stack, if you like, of ways in which we can connect and communicate with people. And so one of the things that I've felt called to do is to use my background. I've spent 30 years as a software engineer, university lecturer. I've spent 80 years in IT research. And so, in a sense, God's given me this background, I believe, as a skill set to now equip others for sharing their faith via the internet. If you can just go to the next slide. Next year is a very exciting year because this new service is going up. We estimate about a third of the world actually have direct internet access, and that will grow particularly as we have a lot of smartphones with internet access coming online. But this is an interesting service because this is a satellite system which is going up next year. It's a commercial company, and they're actually creating a satellite ring around the centre of the Earth, which their objective is to reach the other 3 billion. That's what O3B stands for. Okay? So what this means is that we can provide broadband access, high-speed internet access into remote regions of the world. For example, in India, the Indian government is wanting to provide broadband access to all villages which have more than 300 people. That's about 630,000 villages. Okay? So the opportunities for reaching the world via this technology is just mind-blowing. Let's go to the next one. I've just spent my first day on the job at this event. Actually, I flew to Bangkok and I went specifically to meet with about 280 other people from Campus Crusade and our partners, and to brainstorm for new ideas and new technologies that we can use to reach people. And specifically in this conference, we looked at how we can bring them from decision to disciple. So we're actually looking at the whole discipleship process and even sending people via the internet, or how it can complement our existing tools. When I heard about this, I was very excited because really this is the calling that God's given me. This is the niche area for me because of my background. And so most of the groups, they met in teams, so we actually had presentations, but just go to the next slide. We sort of met in tables and sort of brainstormed for new ideas. I actually didn't have a table like this, I had a virtual table. So they actually gave me people in South Africa and India and Canada and the USA, and together on Skype we actually had a virtual table. Okay. And so at the end of that, we were submitted a video, which is some ideas that we have. And God really blessed me because in the lead up to the conference and during the conference, I had all these, my head just sort of buzzing with new ideas. So I didn't actually submit one video like most tables did. I submitted 5 videos. So new ideas that I believe that God has given me. Each one of those could potentially reach millions of people for Christ. So it's like, this is God's calling to me, right? This is really the gifting He's given me. And so it was a very, very exciting time for me. I also had a number of other ideas I was able to share with other specific people. I met a brother who's from a closed access country, a difficult place. He's been in jail for his faith, a young man. And so I spent an hour and a half just mentoring him and teaching him all the tricks that I know, how we can create hidden websites, for example, how we can actually secure things properly so that he is safe in the ministry that he's called to. Your church actually hosts your website with me. I'm a web hoster. And so some people who can afford it, like yourselves, I charge a small fee for that. So, but actually a number of people like this guy, I don't think he can afford it. So I actually provide it for free for him, and that's the really objective of this ministry. It's not to earn money, but rather to pay for the main costs of the hosting space so that I can give it to people who are most in need. Next slide. This is another really interesting group of people that I met. Thank you. These guys actually do ministry in the Middle East. This lady actually runs another campus team, campus outreach website, and so that's some of the things that I spent time with these guys looking at doing online marketing and brainstorming ideas in this area. So I spent about 7 to 8 years just researching this whole area so that I can prepare for ministry. So I hope that gives you an idea of what I'm up to. A little bit different from the average missionary, but I believe that the gifting God's given me will see many millions come to Christ in the end. Just last one. My last little job, probably in the coming weeks, want to pray for me. I've just been asked by student lifers to help them do an online campaign to connect with new university students. So we're using Facebook and probably Twitter to do connection outreach, essentially, to find new university students as they enter campus. Perhaps even in campuses we don't yet actually have a presence. And so, so that's kind of a little ministry option coming up for me soon. Thanks.